from Poland.
Welcome.
Nice. I wanted to show you the new situation for pro-life movement. Like you know, Poland changed the pro-abortion law in '93 for pro-family and pro-life law, and it was our enemies tried to destroy this law so many years, but it's working. But now we have a big pressure from the structures of European Union and Europe, especially European Union. So it is a different situation. I want to show you this pressure. In the democratic states, every citizen has the right to have a say in important social and political matters, especially if they directly affect him and those close to him. The countries of Central and Eastern Europe, which experienced a period of Communist Party rule, placed great emphasis on this. During the time compulsory socialism, the right of man and his individuality did not exist in practice, since the Communist Party decided everything. Currently, most of those countries belong to the European Union now, and the basis of which was to be the solidarity of nations, according to the principle of mutual assistance and respect of human rights. Culturally, these countries are firmly based on traditional natural families built on the marriage of the man and a woman. For years, leftist, feminist, and pro-abortion groups have steadfastly labored on increasing their influence in all international organizations. Their goal is to bring about profound socio-cultural changes which would destroy the traditional family and its fertility. Gender ideology contains a complete package of such propositions. It is precisely an ideology that is based on neo-Marxist assumptions and violates elementary biological facts. The goal of the destruction of the natural family and afterwards fertility. The adoption of the Council of Europe, the Convention of Preventing and Combating Violence Against Women and Domestic Violence, it was May 2011, came a great surprise. The Council of Europe is mainly a consultative body. It brings together almost all European countries, including those which are not members of the European Union. It should not be confused with the structures of the European Union, that is the European Commission, European Parliament. The Council of Europe is composed of the delegates recommended by the governments of member countries. Thus, this is not a democratically elected body. In principle, the Council of Europe does not have the competence to adopt conventions. As a rule, it can only make recommendations which do not have an obligatory character. Under the pretext of preventing violence, typical, this convention of the Council of Europe mandates the introduction of principles of gender ideology into schools, social life, and education, with leaders of major social cultural changes. These are directed against the marriage of the man and woman and the natural family built on it. The Convention defines gender as a socio-cultural rather than a biological reality. It deprives parents of the right to raise their children according to their own convictions, introducing the requirement of gender education into schools in every grade level. It promotes homosexual behavior and the free choice of gender. It is based on radical feminist postulates. Prevention, so-called discrimination against sexual minorities, is treated as a high priority, while every other form of discrimination is considered acceptable. The Convention of the Council of Europe in practice encroaches the sovereignty of nations, since it requires the creation of the international committee, which with very broad powers. The task of these committees is to monitor and implement the provisions of the convention in the member states. This convention is a very dangerous document. After its signing and ratification, states are supposed to adopt the local laws to the provision of this convention. To date, 37 of the 47 member states of the Council of Europe, which include 23 of 28 members of EU, have signed the convention, and 16 nations, including 9 EU member states, have ratified it. It is done. In most of the countries, more have been no public consultations on this matter. Even though the consequences of implementing the provisions of the convention will be of great importance for its citizens. NGO inputs were disagreed and the petitions of citizens were ignored. The liberal media, which definitely dominate in the countries of East Central Europe, publicize only the problem of violence, falsely portraying it as affecting only women and above all the feminine. The matter was presented in terms of achievements of civilization and culture, and all criticism was discredited as politically incorrect. Most citizens did not receive information about the consequences of ratifying this convention. People do not realize what kind of law has been imposed on them. And very important, only Russia, which is also a member of Council of Europe, decisively opposed the promotion of homosexual behavior, especially among children and youth. It is worth paying attention to that. It is a big subject, but very important. Delegates to the European Parliament are elected in all member countries. During the most recent elections, the number of representatives of the right significantly increased. Unfortunately, because they are dispersed into various fractions, they do not constitute the majority. In contrast, socialist delegates continually present anti-family draft and anti-life and promoting gender ideology. The average citizen of the European Union has no idea that it is going on. The people know nothing. Here are a few of the most recent examples of reports adopted by the European Parliament. On the basis of these reports, decrees are prepared which, although not binding the member states, constitute serious pressure and so-called generally obligatory norms. According to customs, the reports are named after the deputy who sponsored them. And shortly, Tarabelli report, it was March 2015. Resolution on equality between women and men that calls for observance and sexual and reproductive rights. It postulates universal access to contraception, abortion as elementary human rights. Next, Noble report, adopted 6 June 2015, concerned strategy for equality between women and men after 2015. The same. Further report concerns the status of the implementation of fundamental rights, promotes the demands of the LGBT community, including a demand for the legalization of so-called same-sex marriages. Next, September 2015, Rodriguez report recommends the obligatory introduction of gender sexual education into schools in all grade levels, from the bottom. And next, Voronzenberg report, adopted 8 September 2015, applies to women working in academia. It asserts that motherhood is the main obstacle on the road to women's self-fulfillment. These decrees do not have the force of law, but they constitute a powerful instrument of pressure for the acceptance of socio-cultural changes in local laws. They are also an excellent pretext for the activities of leftist and feminist groups. Indeed, they designate a mandatory direction of change which is difficult to oppose. The citizens of the European Union are in practice separated from the decisions taken on these important matters. Their petitions and letters of protest are ignored. For example, the European Citizens' Initiative one of us, regarding the financing abortion. More than 1.8 million persons from 28 countries cited. Nothing. However, it was set aside in shameful travesty of democracy. This is what democracy currently looks like in Europe. The pro-life side necessarily must work about the global strategy in battle of defense of the natural family and human life. And one nice information, because the pressure we know, the dangers we also know, but last Sunday was the election in Poland, and we won. And now our friends, pro-life, pro-family, good Catholic Christian friends, are majority. First, president, good Catholic. Next, majority in the parliament and majority in Senate. Full, all, everything. It is big hope for everybody, also for Europe, also for the world, if Poland not collapse. But I think that it is special God gift for us, because it is really the last moment to save us. After this accident with the plane, the liberals took power, and after 8 years they destroyed a lot. And last month, when they feel that it is the last moment for them, they tried to change us a law about the same-sex marriages. No, we haven't it yet. And also sex education in school. We have in our schools not sex education. It is sex education type A. So it is pro-family education, not biological sex education. This is very, very important, because for the beginning, from the education started what the people think about future, about behavior, about face, everything. So it's good news from Poland, but the pressure is also a very big problem. I think you have also this problem in America. Law system is a little different. But I wanted to show that the normal people don't understand and don't know what is going on us, only pro-life movement and politics now. Thank you very much.
All liberal before, and now you won this election. Is there something that changed? Is there something that...
We hope. We haven't abortion on demand.
But how did you win this election? I don't...
How? It is a question. So I think the people wake up. So we are absolutely stolen to European Union, to German, and the people are very, very poor. We have a lot of children who have problems how to eat more than one per day. It's a lot of problems.
The liberals weren't able to solve
So for a lot of people started to, it is a moment to start think, what is going, what they want to do with us. And also it is very active NGOs collaborating with the church. And also we have wonderful bishops, because our Polish church is on our side, ever. So you saw on the synod, our bishops are on the side of John Paul II, and his teaching is very important for us. Majority of the people know about it. So it is the answer of this question.
Thank you.
Or I can go ahead.
Mine would lead very naturally.
Okay, good.
Eva, thank you. Your introduction leads completely into my subject, which is how we pass on good values to the young. We know that they're being destroyed by a lot of the sex education in schools. We also know that this is being forced on them to some extent more and to some extent less in different countries. But I think that, sorry, that we can all know that if parents don't take back the role that they should have, many children will never hear the truth. A lot of the sex education that we're receiving, or the children are receiving in schools, is full of a pack of lies. I've seen that in some of the things my own children have brought home. It's not just the ideas are wrong, the actual biological facts are wrong. So, this is a Congress of Hope, and I'm going to, I hope, give you some good news or good ideas to take away. We have been given a vehicle which is sex education, and that is for us to take over, because we need to reach all children and not just the children of good people like the ones who come to a congress like this. And I have to suggest a three-pronged, very practical attack. The first is that we need to teach children right values. A lot of the things I'm saying now have already been covered in the magnificent talks we've had in the big hall downstairs. But boys, they need to be told that they can marry, that this is the way to have a happy, prosperous life. I pick out boys particularly because in the poor parts of society, probably in every country, a lot of boys are falling by the wayside. We need every child to understand that they need grit to get on in life, generosity. What's the point of being truthful when short term you can take an advantage over someone else by telling a lie? If you open any newspaper in England, you'll find that a lot of it is full of fraud and dishonesty, if it's not full of sex or violence. So all of these characteristics are what go into making a successful adult, and also, of course, a successful family person. You're going to only have good values if you've got people who are attracted to marry, basically. Now, we've got a program called Alive to the World, which teaches all of these values. This is the first prong of my attack, and I won't say anything more about it because Christine Vollmer, who created the program, will be talking tomorrow. So please go and listen to her. I'm her English wing, if you like. My second prong, take back the actual personal sexuality training and give it to the best teachers. Now, we already know that this whole project is, if you like, impossible. If something is impossible, you cannot settle for second best. There is only one lot of people who can really teach this subject, and that is the parents. And we cannot be fobbed off. It is not good enough to think that we've got a very good idea, we've got the very best programs, we can have the very best video that you can ever see. Sorry, John Paul said it. I love John Paul. We've got to have parents teaching. So, how do we get parents to teach something most of them don't want to teach? And what's more, most of them don't know how to teach. Now, when I say don't know how to teach, I don't mean to say that parents don't know intimacy. Of course they do. What many of them don't know is all the sorts of science that we are learning in these halls. So we've got to package all these wonderful new ideas, the science of the brain, the science of the body, and put it in such a way that parents want to teach their children. You can rely on a factor that many people ignore, and that is that the truth of the body is so beautiful, it has its own power of conversion. And I have, if you like, drawn together this beauty and put it in a very simple book. It looks like this. It's on sale downstairs. It's a guide for the parents to teach their own children sexuality, based on the body up, if you like, rather than on God down. It doesn't mention God, but everything in it is full of morality. The morality comes from two things. One is respect for life, and the second is respect for the integrity of the person. Anything which does not involve the whole person, that is mind, body, spirit, and emotions, in one fullness, does not contain truth. But that truth is available to all of us if it is well guided. So, okay, you've got the science. How are you going to get anyone to want to read it? You do what Christine Vollmer did with The Light of the World and tell stories. And that's exactly what I've done in my book. There's something else that I rely on. That is curiosity. Nobody wants to be told a lie, even if they're prepared to tell it. And there are certain points in life when people are prepared to listen again. And one of them is when their child reaches the age in which to learn. No parent wants their child to be misled. Those moments come at particular times in life, but I would suggest particularly, say, at a time of wedding, also at the time of growth in the faith. If you belong to a faith, and I know many people do, I'm also a Catholic, so I think in terms of our sacraments, but it can apply in whichever faith you are to moments of growth in that faith. So that there's a moment, for instance, when our children receive First Holy Communion, age 7-ish, before puberty, you reach the parents, not talking about teaching the children, you reach the parents with the ideas contained in my book, with workshops for parents. So you don't just leave them alone and say, get on with it. And you come back to this at other points, for instance, before confirmation, which is the time when you might get a launch into, the puberty and beyond, and at other points beyond that. You cannot have individual parents doing it on their own because you won't change the world. We're changing the world in this. You have to go to the communities you've got available, faith communities, but also the schools. So, particularly at primary school level, you go to the teachers and you get them giving out, say, my book, whatever else, but I'm using my book, and at the schools creating workshops for the parents so that they support each other. Now, you won't suddenly get every parent being prepared to do it. If you've got a parent who won't, of course the teachers come in and help. But if you have strong parents beginning it, it begins to change a whole world. Right, problem number 3. At secondary level, most of us have to have sex education in our schools. We're not frightened. We do exactly what Miriam Grosser has told us. We apply to the science. There is nothing we need to be frightened about. If you look at contraception, it's failing. You'll even get, if you look at their literature, you'll find they admit it fails. We know it destroys fertility. In this last week, we've had a professor in England actually saying he's talking to youngsters in Cambridge University because they do not understand fertility. These are youngsters who have migrated out of sex education at school, they've had the whole lot. They do not understand fertility. And the reason that people are worried is that the infertility industry is sagging under the weight of people coming forward. So you give youngsters everything that the governments want. Contraception, the whole story. Fertility and its truth, the whole story. The difference between managing fertility naturally and contraception. The economics of marriage, demographic winter, anything else you like to name that we're discussing here, you put it in an umbrella program. You do something else. You apply, if you like, the emotions, you put in a few stories of heroes. Everybody likes a hero. So what about John and Lynn Billings, or Jerome and Lejeune, or a myriad of other wonderful people, Eric Oderblad, who have created the science that we're listening to here. So prongs 1, 2, and 3, values education, taught at the schools, supported at the home. Parents teaching their own children's sexuality. In the third prong, the schools at secondary level teaching all the latest science. I've left out the 4th prong, which is also the first prong, which is, of course, the faith and family together. You must have that taught in religious education of whatever your own faith might be. I have left it out because I think it's important we give to our young children something which shows that it stands up in its own right. You do not need to rely on religion. And the last thing we're left with is also perhaps the first, to believe we can do it and get on with it. Thank you.
It's okay with everybody, I'm going to stand up. It's a little claustrophobic for me back there.
Sorry about that.
It's the older I get, the more claustrophobic I feel, so don't look forward to that. I want to tell you about something that's a project we have in Latin America. If you didn't get one of these flyers, I have extras. I'd be happy to give you one. But this group I'm with is called Americans United for Life, and we were approached by some attorneys in Latin America because the anti-life forces are trying to change the culture in Latin America. Latin America is the most pro-life part of the world. Most of its countries ban most abortions. The population there is a very pro-life population. So naturally the anti-life people try to change that. So these lawyers came to us and wanted us, I'm a lawyer, an attorney, to work with them to develop this project. And it's basically, well, we did a book link study a couple of years ago, but now we have this interactive web page, which I've been told by people who are a lot more interactive than I am, that's passe, every web page is interactive. But for me, wow, an interactive web page. Anyway, you put a cursor on this map, and you can see the country, and then you can find out the pro-life laws in that country. You can find out if there have been any new developments in the country. For instance, right now in Chile, they're trying to change the laws in an anti-life direction. There have been Supreme Court decisions in different countries, like in Argentina. And their system is slightly different from ours in the U.S., but where the Supreme Court is trying to expand the abortion laws. There are several countries that ban abortion completely, and there's research in those countries showing that maternal mortality rates do not go up when abortion is banned. They decrease. It's really access to basic medical care, clean water, and stuff like that is effective for maternal health care. So this webpage, and we're doing it now jointly with another group called the Alliance Defending Freedom, and with the Latin American lawyers. It's in Spanish, so if you go to this web address, you have a Spanish page, but up in the top right-hand corner, there's a link to an English language version. But the original's in Spanish, and our reports are in Spanish, and we hope to get the word out that this is just a resource for organizations and for people to use. So if you happen to work in Latin America, or you happen to work with others who are there, tell them about this page, because it's done, it's a lawyerly resource. It's reports produced by lawyers. And you might think, well, if I'm not from Latin America, what difference does it make? It makes the same difference as really Ewa was saying about Poland. The fact is, the anti-life people go into courts all around the world, and as they did, I was one of the attorneys in the ABC versus Ireland case from a few years ago, in which there was a lawsuit trying to get Ireland, which is pro-life, to change its laws. And the three plaintiffs said in the lawsuit that why should the court, they went to the European Court of Human Rights, and they say, force Ireland to change its laws. So the court might say, why should we do that? And they said, because there's a consensus in Europe. European countries are all pro-abortion, therefore Ireland must change its laws. That's a bad argument, but it's the kind of argument that courts all over the world use. And I guarantee you, for those U.S. citizens here, that the day Roe v. Wade is overturned, there will be a lawsuit filed saying the United States must recognize abortion under international law. So whatever country you're from or whatever country you're connected with, believe me, the pro-abortion lawyers will go into your country and say international law requires you to recognize abortion. For instance, one of the most respected courts in Latin America is in Colombia. Well, about 4 or 5 years ago, the pro-abortion lawyers went in there and they made that argument, and what's called the Constitutional Court in Colombia ruled that Colombia had to interpret its constitution in light of these international norms. It didn't say international, this is just a technical thing, it didn't say it was kind of obligated to do so because it was law, but because there were norms that were internationally recognized, they had to interpret their own constitution that way. So this international fight for life really unites everybody, you know, from Poland, England, everywhere, Latin America. We're all united in this because we have to be, because the other side is working to destroy the right to life internationally. So I just bring this resource to your attention and hope that you can help spread the word. Thank you.
I'll stand up too. Get blood flowing. You guys all right? You guys awake? We good? All right, good. Personhood. So I'm Keith Mason. Founded a group called Personhood USA, and we worked around the world. And our main focus is on social movement. We'd like to change the issue through social movements, and we do that by focusing on the goal of the entire pro-life movement, and that's the dignity of the human person. So if anybody didn't get one of these, I'm going to give you one. It's a free ebook that this handsome guy here wrote, so he'll give you a card when you want one. But our logo is a fingerprint, and it's important for us because it's a symbol to all of us. It's an icon of the unique human individual. And for us, you know, the first time we can really recognize a fingerprint, your fingerprint, my fingerprint, was when we were in the womb about 8 weeks. So it's a symbol, and it's sort of like something we can look at and say, God really did make us unique. You know, we were created in His image, and that's the source of our value and worth. And that's what we fight for. And we do that by creating laws and putting initiatives on the ballot that don't compromise, that don't do anything but simply state that all humans are persons. And we've done that around the world, but we focus on grassroots mobilization primarily to change culture. And so we have to focus on different key aspects of that. And so some of the key principles that we use is simply that. We always go for that one goal, and we always push people towards that goal and shoot for what we must have. We don't fight for just what we think we can get, we fight for what we must have. So a great example is that this initiative in Poland is a great example to us in America for what's going to happen. We're fighting for all of human dignity. Chile is an amazing example of passing an amendment in a country where it's no abortion whatsoever, no compromise, no exceptions to say, well, if you can be protected in life, you know, as long as your father's not a criminal, things like that. So these are all amazing examples from around the world, and they should be beacons of light for us to fight for, not only in this country, but every single country around the world. And we've done that. In Ireland, we were able to mobilize 3% of the entire population to show up in front of the State House to fight against legalizing abortion. And it sent ripples throughout the country, throughout the entire government, because the people stood and rose up. So as we fight for, you know, the dignity of the human person, you know, we have to focus on the core issues. And for us, the core issues, some of the core things that prevent people from becoming pro-life, or prevent people from really respecting life, is selfishness. And so, you know, I'm going to be pretty short. I've tried to be lively with this and stuff because we've been in this room a little while. But I think if you came to our table, you probably saw some of these wristbands. And you guys are all lucky enough to get one for free right now because you're part of this talk, I think. But these wristbands are very important to us. And so for us, the word family is so important in the battle for life. Because the word family isn't just the nuclear family, isn't just, you know, my family, which I consider my good friends and things like that. It's not just this other communities that I'm a part of, but it's a lifestyle. Because the word family, if you break it down, stands for what? It stands for forget about me, I love you. And so I'm gonna just break the rules. That's okay with you guys. Mike Manhart, could you just tell us a little bit about this? This is my good friend Mike Manhart. Stand up real quick. Mike Manhart came across this message in Bermuda.
Jamaica.
In Jamaica. And together now we've been battling for life, you know, with this motto. So I'd like you just to talk about this just a couple minutes and just tell everybody what this is.
Sure.
With some excitement. Because you're kind of a calm guy. Yeah.
Okay. It's been a lot of work and over a lot of years. You know, when we as a people have to fight, you know, on the front lines for something like life. Think about that for a second. Why do we even need to do that? Okay. Why are we at a Congress where we're trying to find ways to restore the family? This shouldn't be happening. We shouldn't even need to be here. Okay. But it's true. It's fact. We have to face, you know, the facts. Okay. We're destroyed. Why are we destroyed? Because of selfishness, like Keith just said. Selfishness and greed, I believe personally, have really broken us down. Why? Because it's the original sin. Okay, pride was the first sin, and a direct effect of pride is selfishness. All right, 2 questions for you. How many people here love to hang out with selfish people? Okay, no, none of us. Question number 2, how many people here, and be honest please, are ever selfish? Okay, so look at the contradiction that just took place. Okay, and here we're the ones standing in the front lines fighting for life. Okay, fighting against human trafficking, fighting against gay marriage, fighting against all these issues that we believe are so important to us, yet we claim to be selfish ourselves, because we are. So this message of forget about me, I love you, just happens to be the word family, okay, and an incredible reminder. That's why we wear a simple little wristband, because we're creatures of habit. We forget things pretty easily, okay? So I know that in my own life, I'm 50 years old, okay? And it was in 1999 when I was in Jamaica with a little Catholic priest, okay? Who got up and he did a rap song. Talk about enthusiasm, okay? 1,300 Jamaican kids, me and this little white Catholic priest, and I'm a tall, ugly white guy, okay? We're the only white people there with 1,300 Jamaican kids, and they went crazy. They loved it. Their smiles, when they smiled, the sun came out, and it made my heart jump for joy to see these young people so excited about selfless love. Forget about me, I love you. I want to put you in my family and love you through. In a family community, you give your love for free. That's the kind of family we've got to work to be, with the love from above. That's how a family is found. Through the problems and the pain, there's enough love to go around. Pray for all the people, give yourself in all you do, and say, forget about me because I love you. That's right, now I'm talking about me and my brothers, the sisters, the cousins, the mothers, the fathers, okay, the brothers. We're all in this together, folks. But it comes down, trust me, it all breaks down to selfless, unconditional love. That's what we need. So all of the fights that you're doing, thank you. Thank you for fighting. Thank you for being here. Thank you for standing up. But use this acronym wherever you are. Bring it to the schools. Bring it to the teams. Okay, bring it to the clubs. Bring it to the streets. Okay, I say streets because even street gangs are looking, they're looking for love. They're looking for affection. They're a family. Okay? Well, boy, oh boy, selfless love is really the answer. It's easy to just stand here and tell you, but you know, I could see your heads, nodding. You know that selfless love is what we need. So forget about me, I love you. You can help us spread this message however you'd like. It's not ours. I trademarked it with the United States Patent and Trademark Office. So we, folks, we own the word family, cool. And they can't take it away from us.
I'd like to give you guys some of those as a reminder for yourself. As just a little token, so you can think about that as you live, do your jobs or run your ministries and things.
Could you
like
state
that.
his name one more time?
That's Michael Manhart.
Okay.
Oh, that's Manhart with a D, please. It's M-A-N-H-A-R-D-T.
So I think that's important, but focusing on some of the core issues is really critical. Focusing on the personhood, it crosses all countries, it crosses all languages. Focusing on selfless love Because, you know, ultimately, that's what we're after, right? We're after, it's an act of selfishness to commit an abortion. It's an act of you know, for a man or a woman, it's an act of selfishness.
Convenience.
To be convenient. So as we work for life, you know, around the world, you know, let's remember those core principles and never give up and never settle for less than what we need to have. So that's it.